Hello and welcome to Tiffany Teach Tuesday. Today's lesson discussion is going to be talking about preparing to die. This is the most challenging topic for anyone, and especially, and I speak for myself personally, to even think about, ponder over, worry about, because we all know that one day we will die, but we don't know when, we don't know how. And for me, it's a little scary because I don't know what life holds after. But also, just for loved ones to talk about death is scary. When someone in the family is ill, has been diagnosed with something that is not curable, it goes through our brains, in our mind, like, when are they going to leave us? Because we don't want to lose our loved ones, but it's inevitable, it's going to happen. And the thing is, we need to make sure that we have our affairs in order to ensure that our loved ones have nothing more to worry about than grieving and getting past losing the person that they love. Now, I'm going to start with insurance and talk about briefly about insurance. And I'm going to try to make this simple and short, this discussion, as possible. Insurance policies, a lot of people don't get them or don't have enough insurance. And a lot of reasons they don't is because they feel that getting insurance is like planning for your death. But the ironic thing is, you should be planning for your death because you're going to die. We don't want to. Nobody wants to leave this earth. If they're in a good place, they're happy, they love their family because they don't know what to expect after. But your family shouldn't have to worry about how they're going to bury you, how they're going to pay off the expenses that you left behind. People who have generational wealth start purchasing insurance policies for their infant child. So their child is brought into this earth, into this world with us. They put a policy on them. One of the reasons is because something could happen to their newborn child, and they don't want to incur the cost of having to bury their child after they have already, while they're still dealing with the loss of their child. So they purchase a policy and fund. Secondly, it's less expensive to fund a newborn child than it is to fund get a policy on an adult. It takes more to fund an adult because we have more risk, we have more things we've been exposed to, whereas a newborn baby is more innocent. And this is when you should get a larger policy, a policy that will, and not a term policy. If you're building generational wealth, if you're trying to leave a legacy, you're trying to have monies to put your child through college and not have to worry about taking out loans, do not buy a term policy. Purchase a universal life policy. And I'm going to have someone on, I'm going to find someone in insurance who's willing to come and speak about these different types of policies, life insurance policies. I don't want to talk about home policies. I don't want to talk about car insurance. I want to talk about strictly life insurance policies and the benefits of them and the different types of policies. So I have an individual that I know is familiar with this, and maybe she'd be willing to come out to speak on life insurance policies. Now, you have these policies and someone passes away, you're able to accumulate wealth. Also understand life insurance policies do not go to probate court. So that's one less challenge your loved ones have to worry about when dealing with the loss of a loved one. Secondly, this is another discussion that I've had with my friends and family about burial plots. Now, My parents, my dad actually, not even my mom, my dad bought years ago. My parents got married. He planned this out already. He already bought my parents plots. When my father passed away, he had insurance, so we didn't have to worry about any monies. My mother had money left over. We did not go spend the entire insurance policies on burying my father. Truth be told, when I went into my mom went to pick out the stuff at the funeral home, and then she called me to ask me, to help make the final decisions and go over the papers and things like that to decide if he, how we wanted to bury him. So when I walked into the home, they had picked out this casket, and I was just like, how much is that casket? And the lady told me the price, and I was like, that's expensive for a casket for my father, who I have given all of his flowers and accolades and love and praise while he's here on earth. So I asked the lady, I said, well, what is the least expensive casket here? And she showed it to me, and I was like, well, now that is a little cheap looking there. What's the next one up? And so we bought the next casket up, and we ended up spending a very minimal amount on my father's funeral, because my father was a very frugal man. So he would have thought we was crazy to go spend everything on a funeral, because we loved him and praised him and awarded him while he was here on the earth. And we didn't want to see him leave. It was just God's time, and he felt that he should leave. So I say that to say, if you get a big policy, don't spend it all on the insurance, because my mother still had to learn how to pay expense. My mother didn't pay any bills. My daddy paid all the bills. So it was a process and a learning curve for my mother. And as a matter of fact, she still doesn't pay her bills, because now I have taken on the role of my father and paying all the household bills and my mother's bills, because she makes the money. She just never had to be responsible for paying bills, and it's not for everybody. But he left things behind so that while she was figuring this thing out called life, she had money to help her. And that's what a life insurance policy does. If you have children, you should have life insurance for you and your children. However, a life insurance policy for your child can be considered, can also be added as an additional sure. But back to my father's burial. So he bought these plots for my parents, but this is what they don't tell you when you buy these plots. So you only buy the plot in the beginning, because you want to be buried next to your loved ones. But they charge you to dig the ground. They charge you for the liner. They charge you for the headstone. It's a thing that it sits on. Even though my father paid for the plot and the headstones, we still had to come out like $2,500. And this was like in 2007 to continue to bury my father, just in the plot that he already had prepaid. And we would have been out of less money just by buying him a new plot. But that's why he wanted to be laid at rest. And because he had the resources available to us without us having to come up with additional funding, we went on ahead and got that plot. So when it comes down to making health decisions, when you're incapacitated and you can't think for yourself, you have to have somebody that you love and trust, that you want to make those decisions for you, especially if you're not married. And if you're married and you don't think your spouse is going to make the best decision for you, you can have it written in your trust of who you want to leave in charge of your decisions on when you pass away. So I say all of that to say, next week, Tuesday, I'm going to bring out a phenomenal woman who helped me to put my affairs in order. I've been knowing her for about 7 years. I met her at a networking event. A networking group called BNI, Business Network International. And it's a group of individuals that come together in different industries and network and pass each other business. And doing that, when we used to meet, I learned a lot of information from her and another attorney, but she wasn't a state's attorney, about the importance of estate planning and putting your affairs in order to ensure that your family doesn't fall apart about money. And she's going to answer some questions for us. So if you have any questions, please pass them on to me. And if not, I will have questions that I think individuals will want to have answers to. So I'm going to give a brief description about Denise and where she's at, read her bio, and then I'm going to end the live. Denise Russo joined Sullivan and Whiffler in June 2013 to manage their firm trust and estate law practice. Denise worked closely with her clients in order to provide them with their personalized planning strategies to avoid probate, maximize tax liabilities, minimize, tax liability and preserve assets. Some of her services include wills, trust, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, premarital agreements, trust, and estate administrations. Prior to joining the firm, Denise managed her own private law practice and started her law career as a Cook County defender. In addition to her legal experience, Denise's professional background includes executive counseling, international business experience, and she is fluent in Spanish. So, the pandemic hit, and I realized that I had not finalized my finances and business practices and things in order to, if something was to happen to me. People were just passing away during, just from walking outside and breathing the wrong kind of air from somebody. And it just really put a lot on my mind to have my mother to finalize her affairs, as well as me taking care of mine. And I instructed my siblings to do the same. And anybody that I come encounter, I always stress to them, put your affairs in order. The last thing your family wants to have to deal with is your financial and medical expenses and things that's left behind when you get sick or you just happen to haphazardly pass away in your sleep. And I know this is a scary and difficult topic to talk about, but we're going to leave this earth. And if we do nothing else for our family that we say we love, is leave them in peace with least amount of stress possible. So as usual, thank you for always tuning in to Tiffany Teach Tuesday. I hope I was able to teach you something today. And if not today, maybe next Tuesday. I'll see you on next week, Tuesday at 1 p.m. with Denise Russo, attorney Denise Russo, and she'll be talking about estate planning, and she can answer any questions you have. So please make sure you tune in, and I'll see you Tuesday.